your show, and you bring back the good reputation of attorneys. You represent your field well, and I just wanted to say that first before I started my call.
Thank you for the encouraging words. I appreciate that very much.
Justice for All with Mark Nation, Saturdays at 1.
American business is hopping, energized by Office Max rubber band balls, changing boring to bouncy. And we won't stop until every presentation is magic. Office Max has America's largest collection of retail ink and toner, so we have your ink. Right now, purchase $50 in HP ink and get a free 10-pack of Duracell AA batteries. A $7.49 value, valid through March 12th, $50 before taxes. Ink claim based on survey of select Office Product Superstores includes National and Office Max brand ink and toner and ink refill. Office Max. Work with us.
There's no guarantee your new proposal will be approved by your biggest client. No guarantee your son will win his lacrosse tournament. We live in a world where guarantees are few and far between. But when you invest in municipal bonds insured by Assured Guarantee, every dime of principal and interest is guaranteed. Savvy investors rely on Assured Guarantee's financial strength and municipal credit experience. For insured municipal bonds, talk to your financial advisor or visit thinkassuredguarantee.com.
Nelson Investment Planning Services. You can't do better when it comes to putting a plan in place for your financial security that is customized just for you. Sitting down with Jack Nelson and Joel Garris. So many folks tell me what great guys they are to deal with, and I've known that. I've called them friends proudly for many, many years, and how they actually listen to them and how much they know about matters of investment and finance. They've been at it at Nelson Investment Planning Services for well over 25 years. I'll tell you, I want you to get in touch with them and schedule an absolutely free 2-hour consultation about your finances, your future, and how to secure your financial future. It is free with no obligation. And when you're on the phone, ask them about the Budman's 30% discount on the cost of doing tax preparations, because I think they're the best in the business in doing tax prep. And for the first time ever, the Budman's 30% discount is available now to you. And when you call, you get absolutely free their recent newsletter detailing the top 10 tax changes for 2011. Get it all done on the phone today. Call them. Free consultation for 2 solid hours. That newsletter for free and 30% off if you ask for the Budman's discount on the cost of preparing your taxes. All from Nelson Investment Planning Services. 407-629-6477, 407-629-NIPS.
Calling it a life-changing experience?
Yes, he is the answer to the world's ills today.
Would be an understatement. Call 407-916-5400. Toll free, 866-916-5400.
You know, we're watching the great quake in the aftermath in Japan. It is, they say, the strongest earthquake in Japan ever known. 8.9 on the open-ended scale off the northern coast of Japan, northeast of Tokyo, and the damage has been devastating. There was a tsunami there, and the tsunami goes out, 360 degrees in all directions in the ocean when you have a massive quake like this. They're predicting at 8 o'clock this morning in our time there will be a tsunami in Hawaii that will be about a 10-foot-high wall of water. Now they're issuing some tsunami watches and warnings on the west coast of the United States. It is now reported that there's been an earthquake in Hawaii this morning, 4.5, which is a lot smaller, but it's got them all nervous because they're all geared up waiting for the tsunami from the Great Japan quake, and all of a sudden the ground starts moving there. Geologists are saying they don't believe it is related, but of course we're talking about the Rim of Fire out there, and it's a very, very earthquake-prone area, the Pacific, more so than anywhere else on Earth. And we're watching it. I imagine the death toll is going to go through the roof. Goodness knows what a nightmare this is going to turn out to be for the poor people of Japan. And, of course, with the tsunami potential, it all has to be watched in Hawaii and even to the western coast of Canada and the United States. We're all over it. We'll have regular updates at the top and the bottom of the hour when Michelle Murillo brings us the news, and we're going to interject whatever fresh information we have for you. So stay with us here on VHL. Back to the strife-torn Middle East. And we have so little control over this situation. And I am opposed to unilateral U.S. action in any of the countries that we've been looking at so far. But I have to tell you, if we get into a situation where Saudi Arabia gets turned upside down with 1/5 of the world's known oil reserves, if we get into that situation and it cuts off for any substantial period of time our oil supply, we're going to have to do something. Whether we're flat, busted, broke or not, whether we're worried about the consequences of how the rest of the Middle East will then feel about the United States if we take the lead, we're not going to be able to sit back. There can be no dithering, no copping out, no relying on others if Saudi Arabia goes down. And today is the much anticipated day of rage. Protests are almost unknown in Saudi Arabia. But protests are forecast today, and the kingdom is really, really worried. As a matter of fact, they've already started firing on some of their own people, their own protesters, as they started ratcheting things up yesterday. More on Saudi Arabia and what's at stake here as we continue. 407-916-5400, toll-free 1-866-916-5400. Do you understand that Saudi Arabia is a completely different situation for us than any other situation we've been encountering in the Middle East? And do you understand that we could not sit back and do nothing? We would have to get aggressively involved. 407-916-5400. More on the Saudi situation, 6:52. Real-time traffic and weather together now, updated on the 2s.
From the David Moss Volkswagen Lee Road Traffic Center, so far so good along I-4. No accidents or delays to slow your travels. Authorities are on scene of a serious wreck southbound along the Turnpike at US 27 mile marker 289. All southbound lanes are blocked at the time. Traffic is backing up quickly through this area. Be prepared for delays if you are headed this way. And a crash with roadblocks slowing things down southbound along John Young Parkway, just a little south of Oak Ridge Road. From the Traffic Center, I'm Courtney Bright.
Courtney, thanks. Sunny, breezy, and cool today. 67 on the weekend. It warms up a bit. Sunshine, nearly 75 Saturday. On Sunday, sunny and 78. 46 degrees still as dawn breaks here in the city. Beautiful on a fabulous Friday morning. We're so glad you're with us. As I say, protests are almost unknown in Saudi Arabia. The new social media, Facebook, etc., has linked people together, and these repressive regimes cannot keep the people from connecting to each other in a way they've always been able to do before and connecting to what's going on the world scene. And so these protests have all been organized. But there's no history for this. You know, we're like professional protesters here in the United States, okay? We know how to do this stuff, for better or for worse. Nobody here has to say, gee, I don't know, I mean, I feel like protesting, but I don't have any idea how to do that. Can somebody Google how to protest? We don't have to do that here, but you'd have to do it in Saudi Arabia because there is really no history for it, and the government doesn't put up with it, and everybody understands that they're not going to tolerate it. As I say, they've already begun firing on some of their own protesters, and that's before today's anticipated, quote, day of rage by people who want freedom in the repressive kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The government is not amused. They're taking preemptive action. Among other things, beyond firing on some of their own people, they have warned their citizens not to protest because, are you ready? Are you ready? Because it violates Islamic law. All right, and in Saudi Arabia, Islamic law is the law as administered by the king. The kingdom is saying every citizen should cooperate with the authorities to maintain security and stability throughout the nation. And a veteran foreign minister speaking for the king weighed in, reform does not come via protests, and the clerics have forbidden protests since they violate the Quran and the way of the prophet. How do they sell that stuff to their own people? Jeff, you're in there, you're laughing. I mean, give me a break. You know what we're dealing with that comes out of the Quran and fuels the radical Islamic threat that's growing here, as we were reporting earlier in the hour. Of those hearings in Washington are clear evidence of that, and around the world in which all matter of incredible violence is justified to be visited upon non-Muslims, the infidels, in the name of Allah, in the name of the Prophet Muhammad. Go get them, take them out, kill them all. And yet they're saying, you know, you can't protest here, it's against Quran. No, not here.
It might be the most self-serving book on the planet. I mean, whatever you want it to do, there's a page or a passage that they read from that's okay.
Well, but it's amazing to me that they're using the Quran to guilt trip the people into saying this isn't going to fly with Allah. You know, kiss the 72 virgins goodbye when your party's over down here on planet Earth. You're going to be in some serious trouble. Allah and Muhammad, no, they don't want to find out you've been down here protesting.
Using Facebook.
Yes. Yeah, but if you saw head of infidel, ha! Virgins waiting as soon as you get here. We welcome you. I mean, come on. How in the world do they sell this nonsense? They've had these people over there repressed and scared and frightened to take action in their own interests for so many years. I think the situation in Saudi Arabia is one in which you have the people knowing that they don't have the freedoms that so much of the rest of the world enjoys, and yet they are frightened to protest. They don't have the mentality for speaking for themselves. You take what the king gives you, and you be happy with that, and whatever you do, don't protest. I'll not be happy. I mean, this is unbelievable. We'll have to see how it plays out today. But in closing on this, I think maybe the most important thing I could say is I was reading some of this, Jeff. This is interesting. 1/5 of the world's oil reserves. That's what makes Saudi Arabia a completely different situation. A completely different situation. 1/5 of the world's known oil reserves. Okay, they're the one country that can turn the spigot on and off and make a difference in your price at the pump almost immediately. And some of the experts who watch the oil market say, worst case scenario, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but the potential was not there with any other Middle Eastern country the way it is with Saudi Arabia. They are saying if we had oil, the supply shut down for any period of time in Saudi Arabia, almost overnight, the oil price that has now climbed over $100 a barrel would shoot up to $200 a barrel at least. Now, when oil got to close to $150 a barrel in the summer of 2008, in July, I think it got $147 a barrel or something, we had gas at $4.11. Now think about $200 a barrel. That's why Saudi Arabia is a different deal. And it's almost hard to know what to root for. I got to tell you, I have no love for the king and his oppressive regime. But it would be complete chaos for us and the rest of the world, and it most certainly would deep six us into another recession. And I can't even imagine what the price of a gallon of gasoline would be at the pump,
Well, it's just, just spitballing off the top of your head. If it's 100 now at 350 or so, you're looking, $7.
Could
easy.
Be.
That's pretty scary.
Be absolutely catastrophic. It would be for us and for the rest of the world. Keep in mind the Brits are already paying close to $10 a gallon. Okay, so as bad as it is here, every time you fill up, think about what it is elsewhere already and what it could be in a worst-case scenario as the violence ramps up in Saudi Arabia. That's why we're talking about it. So you tell me, back here in the state of Florida, if you are a felon and you serve your sentence and you, quote-unquote, serve and pay your debt to society, should you be forced then to pay even more? That's what the state of Florida now says, and I'm debating it with you as we continue into hour number 2, 7 o'clock on VHL.
WFLF Pine Hills, Orlando. WTKS FM HD2 Cocoa Beach. The home of Fox News. 540 WFLA. 540 WFLA. Local news from the Fox Orlando News Center.
Offshore was followed by more than 20 aftershocks. The quake